You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
All right, so I just saw this, Dave, okay?
What is this? Is this going to make me angry?
Yeah, it is.
You know what I don't understand? I don't understand people like Bill. And I want to hear what JPP had to say. But, Bill, you said that you were rooting for the Jaguars just to watch how I reacted?
Just to watch a Rothenberg meltdown. Was going to sell tickets.
That seems mean.
But it's not mean.
Of course it's
That's
mean.
you.
But why? I'm not at the zoo.
No. People take pride in the misery of others. They enjoy the misery of others.
But you should be better than that, Bill.
I am, but I was enjoying it.
And Bill wouldn't feel that way if the Giants had something on the line. They had nothing on the line. That's why he felt that way.
I don't know. If you're a Giants fan and you watched that yesterday,
no, I was rooting for them.
You're giddy and excited because you're thinking of what it's going to do to me. That's mean-spirited.
As Ryan said, if there were a playoff spot on the line, I think we'd all be disgusted about it.
Yes.
But the game meant nothing.
Yeah, but to lose it like that,
nothing.
Bill. Oh, to lose it like that. Great. You know what?
Nothing.
I'm in a great mood already. What did he say, Ryan? What did JPP say?
So JPP just Instagrammed out. And look, we never know exactly what somebody is thinking about in their life when they post something. What's causing them to put up a message. Could be subliminal to something beyond football and having nothing to do with football. But you would hope that they're also maybe considerate of what's going on.
Like aware of their surroundings?
Although he's proven to be
unaware of his surroundings?
At times. We'll put it that way.
Just unaware.
Yeah. He just Instagrammed out a picture of a saying that says, stress is caused by giving a
blank.
A blank. A blank that starts with a letter after E, okay? Not a one that starts with a letter after R. So stress is caused by giving a blank, and then for his caption of that picture, he just put the smiley face with the shades on it.
So he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
He basically is spitting. By the way, goodbye. You're not that good at – let's be very clear about something, JPP. You're not that good at football, okay? You think you're going to go out there and get $50 million guaranteed dollars? Good luck. Good luck.
The Giants are still going to try to keep him.
I wouldn't.
They will. I guarantee you they will.
You know what? I don't know, Dave. If I was them, every dollar I was planning on spending on JPP, I'd put to Ndamukong Suh without hesitation.
Oh, but that's the same guy, isn't it?
I don't think he doesn't.
Troubled guy? I don't want Suh over.
No,
you know what?
Suh has done some dirty things, but dude, I don't know that he's ever shown us he doesn't care about winning and losing. You've never heard that about him.
But in a town like New York, it might.
JPP is totally apathetic. I want him off my team.
I understand, but you know what? He's a homegrown guy, and they're going to look at him
Dave,
and say
he's not that good at football.
I don't think he's not that good.
Dave,
I don't think he's not that good.
He had 1 year of disrupting the passer. He's good against the run.
Here's what I would do. Tell me if you disagree with this. I don't know the number, but if I'm Jerry Reese and the ownership and whoever the coach is going to be, and hopefully it's Coughlin, but whatever, I'm going to have that number. This is a guy that's, still 25, 26 years old. I'm going to have that number in my head and give it to him and say, this is what we will give you. Now, they did the same thing with Tuck. You know what? They need him back. Now, whether or not you're going to break the bank and pay him J.J. Watt money, I agree with you.
I don't need him back. I don't need him back. I can win 3 games with him. That's being proven year after year now. I don't need JPP back.
I think that's cutting off your nose to spite your face.
I don't think
it's a big mistake.
I think this is a bad guy for your locker room.
I think they won a Super Bowl with this bad guy.
Yeah, you know what? When he had less of a voice. When he was outstanding that year. He has not been anywhere near the player since then.
Agreed. But you know what? He's not a bum. He's not a bad football player. And you put good football players around him, and he becomes that much better of a football player. All I'm saying is, before you sit here and tell me, emphatically, nope, don't want him, move on, let's go to the table with an offer that's fair for both sides. And if he says no, then I'm okay to move on.
But Dave, I can't have this rogue agent in the locker room constantly saying dumb things and then Instagramming out that he doesn't care.
But you don't know have you heard that he's an issue in the locker room?
No, but I constantly am hearing him say things that I would not like as a member of the organization.
I don't disagree with you, but how many players on how many teams do you think do this kind of stuff?
I think a lot of them do.
You're going to get rid of every guy that does this?
No, but when the guy is a guy who is going to want $8 to $10 million a year, yeah, that guy I don't need. He doesn't produce enough for that. Never mind to deal with. You know what? You know what happens when you start to say the things he says, and you start to have that attitude. your number gets dropped, okay? Because now there's a risk involved. Now you're no sure product in my mind.
Look, I don't think he's an overly intelligent guy. There's not a game that you watch where he's not hobbled coming to the sideline or gets up late or something like that. I agree. But to just emphatically say, nope, not making him an offer, we'll move on from him, I think is stubborn.
All right, you know what? If he wants to come back for $3 million a year, he can come back. No, he can come back then. He can come back.
That's not fair.
Otherwise, they'll take those dollars, they'll give them to a guy who really disrupts the game, and Ndamukong Suh. JPP is so great that his defense constantly gives up game-winning drives. Obviously, it's not just his fault, but and he's been very good against the run this year. But I'm sorry, are you watching a real impact player this season?
I think he's still a good football player. I think he plays the run well. I think he gets to the quarterback. He got to the quarterback yesterday. Do I think he's great? No. You've heard me say it. I just think that when we get here where it's just like emphatically, nope, move on from him, I think you get into danger territory because you got to be careful with guys like this.
You know what? I don't think the risk is worth the reward right now with him. He's annoying.
He might be annoying, but you know what? Give me an annoying guy that can get to the quarterback.
Oh,
right?
yeah, because he really does. Those 5 sacks, let me hang those on the fridge. They'll make me forget about the 3-9 season.
Could you imagine what they'd be without him this year?
I don't. What would they be? 2-10. Wow, the drop-off is so scary.
Just be careful what you wish for.
That's fine. Adam in the car. Adam, you're on the Lexus of Route 10 hotline.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Go ahead, Adam.
All right, so I'm a Jets fan, and nobody's talking about the Jets because, let's be honest, who really cares at this point? But my point is that Rex is in kind of a similar situation to Coughlin in that he's been handcuffed by poor talent on his team in specific positions. Coughlin has a terrible O-line. Rex has a terrible secondary. Now, I'm not absolving them of all blame, but the thing is I want to see them both get another chance, get an impact player in the draft, see what they can do next year, possibly. I think there's a better chance for Coughlin.
Adam,
Rex is gone.
Yeah, that's a moot point. But here's the other thing I would say about this. Isn't that where coaching comes into play, too? Like, Bill Belichick has his team. I know he's the gold standard, but his teams are decimated every year. Every team deals with some unit who is deficient compared to their original expectations because of injuries.
I think you're right, but I think what the Giants are going through now is that their starters are substandard to what you need to win in this league. So when your starters then become hurt and you bring in backups, which are comically bad, this is what you see. This is exactly what you see, Ryan. And that's why this season has been such a disaster. And last season was a disaster. And the end of the season before that was a disaster. But can we stop, please, comparing Rex Ryan and Tom Coughlin? I mean, really?
Well,
can we stop it?
Not in the same stratosphere, sure. Kenny and Mawa. Kenny, you're on the Lexus of Route 10 hotline.
Hey, guys, love the show.
Thank you.
I actually went to the Cowboys-Giants game, and I'm actually a Cowboys fan. And I wasn't worried at all that the Cowboys were going to come back in that game because the Giants do not have the heart to finish games anymore. Players like you were talking about with JPP do not have the heart to finish the game, where a guy like Sue, he has changed an entire culture in Detroit, and they just don't have it anymore.
You know what, Kenny? And look, I'll admit this. I think Dave is a little. I'm reacting a little bit like a fan to JPP's Instagram post about not caring, which could have nothing to do with football. But I'm just sick of a guy who constantly chirps, and I don't get enough production. And I know people are tweeting me the advanced football analytics that say he's second best. I see Michael Carrillo, and I appreciate that, tweeting saying he's the second best defensive end behind J.J. Watt this year as far as advanced analytics go. And I understand he's been very good against the run, but he's nowhere near the disruptive force we saw in his second year.
Correct.
And here's what else I worry about money-wise with him. He's going to want a lot. I don't know how that will affect him, but I would be worried about how it affects him. And his health, too. Guy had issues for 2 years with his back.
I agree with you. And there's never a game that you watch where he doesn't hobble himself off the field. I get it. All I'm saying is let's move back from the stupidity of Instagram and some of the dumb things that he says in the locker room or to the media and take a step back and look at this guy and say, he's still a pretty good player. He still is in the prime of his career. Let's make him a fair offer. If you make him a fair offer where if he takes it, he's paid very well and there's enough guaranteed money, and he says no, then I have no problem, Ryan, with saying, well, then thank you very much for your service. We'll appreciate the Super Bowl that you helped deliver to us, and we'll move on from you. But I don't want to be that kind of fan and that kind of person in the media that just says, dumb thing, move on, thank you, can't deal with you.
I agree, but I just, you be very careful with what you offer him. Because if you're going any big money, I do not think he's the guy you want to give that to. I think you have to be very careful.
You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
OBJ was targeted 2 times in the second half yesterday. That's a joke. And, he said he thought they took their foot off the gas a little bit offensively in the second half. He should never be targeted 2 times in a half. I don't care if Darrell Revis is on him.
He's terrific.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah, he really is. He makes plays. He's another guy, though, that you watch him play in every game. It's hobbling around, and I don't know. I get anxious about that.
Well, now that's the only thing you're watching. He's dynamic enough that's why you're watching right now as a Giant fan.
I don't agree.
You don't think so?
Well, I think he's dynamic. I think he's fun to watch. But I think if you're a Giants fan, you watch because that's who you are. That's in your DNA.
You do, but that's what excites you.
Yeah, he's exciting. He's the thing that you hang your hat on. You say, I'm excited for him this year or next year and moving forward. And you start to think of if Cruz comes back healthy and Cruz and Beckham. By the way, you see Ruben Randle didn't start yesterday.
I know, because he was late. And then he actually played well once he got in.
He was okay, but I think I've seen enough of him.
Yeah, me too. I don't need that guy around. And you can find a nice third receiver pretty easily in free agency.
Just promise me this. That it won't be Preston Parker.
I promise you.
You promise me it won't be him next year?
Like when he dropped the touchdown pass on the beautiful pass in the right corner of the end zone by Eli.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. I feel a little bad for him.
He's a special kind of terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Dave, I also you just said OC's retiring. You just got that?
Yeah, I think he came out with it over the weekend that he's going to retire at the end of the season.
He was a great Giant.
He was.
And he'll have a good career in media or whatever he wants to go into afterwards.
He's a bright guy.
He's affable.
He has interesting things to say.
Yep.
He's good looking. He's
great
engaging.
smile.
He is.
By the way, it's going to become the beat a dead horse topic of the next however many months. But just the sports situation, man, it is bad right now here.
Knicks' second worst start ever.
The Knicks look awful.
Terrible.
They look awful.
Remember when they beat the Cavs and we were like, you know what? Maybe it's not so bad. They stink.
Samuel Dallenberg is having and I feel bad for him actually. He's having a really hard time, like just catching the basketball. He's having a very difficult time. And in Brooklyn, I did that game yesterday. The best player on the team doesn't look like he cares anymore. Joe Johnson, I always thought would be the guy.
Johnson, are you talking about or Darren Williams?
No. Darren cares and is playing well. Joe Johnson's he's been their best player over the last 2 years. He literally, I always thought he would be a guy who would just do his thing because he doesn't have the kind of personality where you think he gets so frustrated.
Right.
He looks like he does not care at all. Ever since he came out with those "we're selfish" comments, the team's played like dog, you know what? And he's having games where he's taking 5 shots, scoring 3 points.
But you know who's good? The Islanders.
They are. Oh, they are, baby. They are holding it down. That's right. That's it. It's only the hockey teams that are holding it down because the Rangers are a good team.
Yeah, the Rangers had a good home-and-home sweep over the Flyers Friday, Saturday. They're back in action tonight.
I listened to our friend Don LaGreca calling the game. He's
great. So good, isn't he?
Now, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you're the Giants, are you moving on?
From what? From
Coughlin and Reese, or either of them? You're not. You're keeping them both.
I'm keeping them. What? Coughlin and Reese? You saying?
Either of them?
Yeah, I would keep them both. But
okay.
but I understand why there's this groundswell of it's time to make a change. I do. But for me, I think that they are still capable. I think. Look, did the Giants lose yesterday because of Tom Coughlin? In your mind?
No.
I mean, if Larry Donnell doesn't fumble that ball, if the defense makes a stop, if Eli doesn't take the sack and fumble,
But at some point, all of that does fall under the head coach.
Sure it does. But I sit here and I still believe that Tom Coughlin. Do you think he's not a good coach?
No, I do think he's a good coach.
Do you think the guys don't play for him?
I think they do play for him.
Do you think the game has passed him by?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
So then if those answers are...
The only thing I'd say, though, it doesn't mean there's not a better option for this group out there right now.
Who?
It's not my job to know that. It's the New York Giants.
If I told you right now, Jim Harbaugh comes in and is the next head coach of the Giants next year, Want it?
Maybe.
Yeah?
I'd have to really think about that. How about you?
I'm interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
because I will tell you what, if we get here and they let Coughlin go and they bring in a guy that I'm not in love with, I'm going to be really upset.
Yeah, you will. Although there's also a clock on how long you have Coughlin anyway. So this isn't one of those situations where you let a Bill Belichick go and then you watch him go win Super Bowl somewhere else. Not that it was ever going to work in Cleveland for him, but with Coughlin, you're always feeling like it's year to year anyway because of how old he is. So I think if you let him go, I don't think you'd have as deep a regret as you thought, unless you think next year's team is ready-made for a Super Bowl.
No, they're not ready. They have to fix the offensive line, and the defense stinks. That's a lot to fix in an offseason.
Yeah,
I think Jennings is fine.
What do you feel good about? The running back and the receivers.
Yeah, and I still think the quarterback is good. Don't you think that Eli Manning is unfairly criticized on this team?
Yeah, he's not having a bad year. He's having a good year.
I think he's having a good year.
Yeah, me too.
I think that when I go back and they've played 12 games, I look at one game that Eli was awful.
Yeah. There are a few moments, too, where he has not stepped up the way they needed to. They needed him to. He's made a few mistakes that he just can't make because he has to drag the group along.
Are they 3-8 this year because of Eli Manning?
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all. Not even close.
Is he Tom Brady? No.
By the way, they're 3-9.
I want them to be 3-8.
I know you do so badly.
You forgot about yesterday.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you guys enjoyed it so much.
It was delicious.
He's trying. I didn't enjoy it.
Miserable. You mean people. Who does this?
No, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't say, I did not say.
Isn't there something fundamentally wrong with friends rooting against other friends' teams?
I think that's
who's your own team, in fact, just because you want to see them go off the deep end?
We do it all the time.
But I think it's more about rooting for your job in that case, because when you go off the deep end, it creates good content. But I was not hoping for that yesterday. I wanted them to win. As I was watching that game, it's a consolation prize. It's not what I root for.
So, at what point after the Giants lose do you say to yourself, "Oh, well, they lost, and I'm upset by that"?
But 5 seconds after the game.
Great, good,
but
congratulations.
But it's just because I'm an optimistic person by nature, so I'm trying to find the silver lining, and your anger happens to be it.
So you and Bill are evil.
I was very mad at the Cowboy loss.
I would have sold tickets to today's show.
And you know what? I get all these tweets about you. Oh, look at you. You're so quiet. I'm like, I'm on the air. What do you want me to do? Start tweeting while I'm on the air?
I want you to start firing things, like at the wall.
Eric Carabel. So we did the show with Carabel yesterday, the fantasy show. And he's done it.
Oh my gosh.
What?
You were on the air as it was happening.
You know this. And Carabel says, because he's done it 4, and another fantasy guy comes in, and he goes, listen, if I stick around, are you going to go crazy? Because I'd like to see that.
See, you have a rep.
Yeah, I said, of course, if they lose this game and you stick around, I'm going to go crazy. He's like, will you throw something? I said, of course I will. So, yeah, they lost, and I threw pens and an empty iced tea bottle.
See, you could have thrown something.
What do the rest of the professionals in the studio think when you do that?
I mean,
what does Eric Allen say when you do that?
He loves it.
Really?
Eric Allen, he thinks it's great. First of all, he hates the Giants, so he enjoys it to no end. It's at that point, it was Eric Allen, Randy Scott, who does SportsCenter, and Eric Carabel were in the studio, and they think it's phenomenal.
Okay.
But
so we're not alone. So it's not just me and Bill, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but you're Giants fans.
But I don't.
Carabel's an Eagles fan.
But let me be very clear. Like that Cowboy loss, it bothered me.
But you said you would rather have the catch than the win.
In the aftermath, yeah. I made it very clear. Not at the moment, but in the aftermath.
No.
Always want the win.
Always want the win.
Not when it means
Cowboys?
nothing.
That's a bad loss for the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM. You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM. Time for a frenzy. A football frenzy. Any team, any player, any question. Call now at 800-919-3776 or tweet at Rothenberg ESPN and at Ryan Ruocco with hashtag football frenzy and ask your NFL questions.
That's right. We take one from the other side of the glass, one from the call, one from a tweet. 1-800-919-3776, the telephone number. Tweet at us at Rothenberg ESPN, at Ryan Ruocco. The Football Frenzy brought to you by Advanced Radiation Centers of New York. Am I getting the hang of it for you?
Oh, you're doing very well now.
Because you invented it.
I invented it.
And people should never forget that.
Well, we co-own it now. That's what we do. You're doing great.
I appreciate that. That's why I love working with you. Jeff, go ahead.
I'm going Johnny Football first. Is he going to start for Cleveland next week?
I think he should. I think he should. Look, Brian Hoyer, do you remember people were saying, oh, Brian Hoyer, he might get $100 million on the free agent market? I was like, what? Are you watching this guy? Look, he right now, I don't think him maintaining his position as quarterback, I don't think he's going to the playoffs. I think he's almost certainly going to take you out of it. He hasn't been good in a while. He's been okay at best this season, even when he's performed all right. He's never looked great. What he's done is he's had bad beginnings to games and then some strong finishes. But he hasn't really put complete games together. Johnny Manziel in his one drive yesterday against Buffalo looked really good against a good defense. Why not? See what that's about.
Yeah, I get it, and I'm not opposed to Manziel next year, but Manziel for the rest of this year, Brian Hoyer has taken a team that's not very good to 7-5.
Is he the reason?
Can I answer my question?
All right,
this is a frenzy. There's no back and forth discussion.
Sorry.
I would stay with Hoyer for the rest of the year, and then I'd make a clean break. But I do agree with you. $100 million for this guy, there's no way I would do that. You were doing so well with the frenzy.
Sorry.
All right.
11 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Alex in Staten Island. Alex, go ahead on the frenzy.
Hey, guys, how's it going? I just wanted to know if you guys are as confident as I am that the Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers will be in the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I am. The only way they don't get there, in my mind, is if they somehow stumble down the stretch, Seattle gets home field, and then it goes through Seattle. If it goes through Lambeau, yes, they will get there.
I agree that Green Bay looks best right now, but I'm not writing off Seattle. I absolutely think Seattle could beat them in the NFC.
In Lambeau Field?
Yeah, I do. I've seen them lose huge playoff games at Lambeau. The Giants have done it twice.
Only the Giants.
Well, Atlanta did it, too, back in the day with Michael Vick.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah,
now.
but I'm not saying it's definite. They look like the best team, and I could see the Patriots losing to a variety of different teams in the AFC. I think there's a lot of good teams that are going to be in that AFC playoff picture. I think they're probably best off they're at home, but I wouldn't say totally. Bilal Jelani tweets at us saying, are the Detroit Lions legitimate contenders?
No. I mean, contenders to make the playoffs, yes. Contenders to win the Super Bowl, no way.
I'll tell you what, they have a chance to win the division, too, still. Because
they got to win in Green Bay to win the division.
But that's what that game should probably come down to it. Each team has 3 fairly soft games leading into it. The Green Bay schedule is actually a lot harder.
They have to go to Buffalo.
Yeah, that's the one game that
You're
changes
telling
it.
me you think that Detroit has a real chance to go into Green Bay and win that game?
I don't, but they beat them once, and it's a little bit different when you play a division foe. I think Green Bay wins it, but the Lions, I definitely think the Lions make the playoffs.
I agree.
I think the Cardinals might not now.
From 9-1 to not make it would be an all-time collapse.
That would. All right, Cole, what's your question?
Drew Brees put up 5 touchdowns yesterday without the help of Jimmy Graham, and they stay at the top of the NFC South. Can they make an impact in the playoffs?
I'd be worried about going there to play that first game.
I totally agree with you. I don't care how many games they win. With Graham and Breeze and that home field advantage, I think that the Saints are a very tough team in that first-round matchup.
Radcliffe in the car. Radcliffe, you're up next on the Frenzy.
Okay, Cowboys beat the Seahawks. So how are the Seahawks ahead of the Cowboys in the playoff with the same 8-4 record?
Well, they're not right now. They're not. Does that answer your question? They're not right now, but if the Seahawks...
Well,
you go ahead.
If you look at what NBC had up last night, they showed that the Seahawks is in and the Cowboys is out.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's because of...
there was a 3-way tie.
It's a 3-way
with Detroit,
tie.
Dallas, and Seattle. But if Dallas ties with Seattle for that final or any playoff spot, it's just the two of them, Dallas gets the advantage. But, Ryan, if the Cowboys tie with the Cardinals, they lose it, or the Niners, they lose it.
Right.
So
exactly. So that's who they can, that's where they can actually still end up missing the playoffs. All right. How about this one from Jason Maverick? He says, if Packers and Patriots go to the Super Bowl, will the Pats get revenge?
I don't know. How am I going to pick the Super Bowl now?
Well, I think you would say, do you feel like they showed you enough to believe that
yes.
they can win on? They would win on a neutral site.
I don't know. Would I think they could win that game? That's terrible. Go to Jeff. Jeff's going to.
Let's have Jeff give us one more question. Jeff, give us one more question. Jeff,
you can do it.
Are the Arizona Cardinals completely done now?
No, I don't think they're completely done, but they're in serious trouble.
Well, you got to figure, if you go 2-2, you get 11, you get in.
You have a tough schedule now.
I know. I don't think they're completely done. They're in big trouble, but I don't think they're done yet.
And that'll do it.
You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM. You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
Look, I love you. I love Jeff. I love Cole. I can't sit here and do this today. I can't. Watching what I saw yesterday from the Giants, I let you get out the you better believe it. I wanted to be respectful to you. I can't start with the what time do we start? 2 minutes of the show. It's pathetic. It has become.
You're saying it with a smile, though, because I think you really love working with me that much.
I do love working with you. I do.
I think it almost overrides your feelings about the Giants.
No, it doesn't. You know what they are? They're a traffic accident now. You have to watch because you don't know what you're going to see, but it's awful. How they lost that game to that team after leading 21-0, Ryan, is beyond me. I have no idea. And you'll hear a lot of people say, well, it's Eli. It's not Eli Manning. I know that's the first thing you jump on. The quarterback's just not good. He is good. This offensive line is amazingly bad, and this defense stinks. And, I've been of the position that Coughlin should stay employed, but if you want to take the other way today, I think it's a conversation that we definitely have to have.
Why don't you give us a little rundown of the emotions you were feeling as that second-half lead turned into a second-half deficit?
By the way, I'm not a caged animal.
No, you are.
I hear Don come on his show and be like, I freak out before Dave. I'm not in this for, competition or battle. This is just who I am.
I know, and I love who you are, and I'm trying to access
what was I like?
Your personality.
I became angry because you know what? I watched the first half, and I thought to myself, and I don't know if you had this thought, they're playing so well. Where was this all year? And if they had played like this, maybe you would have seen it. And then you just watch it slip away. And this is what bad teams do is they can't get away from themselves. And that play where they're up, 21-3, and Eli goes back, and he gets sacked, and he fumbles. And then Rashad Jennings has the ball and decides to try and get up and run with it. And he fumbles it. The Jaguars jump on it 21-10. But even at that point, if you're up 21-10 on the road to the Jaguars, you find a way to win that game. But not these Giants, Ryan. And then I started to percolate and get angrier and angrier and angrier, and it became 21-17. And then I lost it. I mean, I absolutely lost it. I guess they went for two and they failed, so it was 21-16, right? And then
they took the lead.
You want to blame Coughlin? Yeah. I mean, whose fault is it that Larry Donnell fumbles the ball on that little pass up the right side?
And he's done that a few times.
He did it against the Cowboys down in Dallas, remember?
2 fumbles against Dallas.
Now the second one did not matter because the game was out of reach at that point.
But then it becomes window dressing.
Right, and Coughlin was angry, and I don't blame him. I mean, he was livid. I was livid. I can't imagine. Look, the Giants are a bad team. We knew that. But you got to close out that football game. And that game got away from them, and it was disastrous. And then when Donnell gave up the fumble and the Jaguars scored, you know what? You say, there's still a chance. There's still a lot of time left in this game.
Yeah.
And the Giants came down.
Yep.
And they scored.
Yep.
They kicked a field goal. And I would love to know how many people thought the Giants would stop them on that last drive.
No one.
Nobody.
None.
You didn't think they were going to stop them?
Antrell Roll didn't. I mean, maybe he did, but Antrell Roll after the game was talking about how it's getting a little repetitive. We start out good. We can't stop any of these last drives. Even Tom Coughlin said they should have had somebody assigned to shadow Bortles.
It's the same play, and this is what frustrates me. You saw it in Seattle. You saw Russell Wilson with this read option, and he goes to the outside. He goes crazy against the Giants. And then you saw the same thing from Blake Bortles yesterday. It's as if they haven't been trained in this,
How do you
Ryan?
give up after that holding penalty, that gift? How do you give up a 20-yard run to put them into field goal range? How do you give that up there? You have to be an awful defense.
Because they stink. That's why. That's the truth. This is a bad football team.
Here's Tom Coughlin.
21-3 should win the game. I mean, and we talked about this, and we talked about the turnovers. 2 turnovers for touchdowns. We could have knelt on the ball in the second half, had a better chance to win. Of course, we missed a field goal. The rookie quarterback brings it the length of the field at the end of the game. What amounted to a 2-minute drive. We get no turnovers, nothing on our side of the ball.
Nothing. You know what I'd say, Dave? Now, I'm watching that game in the beginning of it yesterday.
And you have to be sick to your stomach also. You care about this team.
Well, I'll tell you how it went down for me, because I broadcasted Nets Bulls yesterday, okay? So I DVR'd the Giant game because I knew...
And you avoided the result?
No. But just so I could talk about it intelligently.
Sure.
I knew that I have to, in the third quarter, go on air. So I saw the entire first half, and I saw the beginning of the third quarter.
And you felt good?
Felt great.
So what was it? Was it 21-10 when you went on air?
No, it was 21-3.
Oh, so the game was over.
Yeah, and I thought, okay, great, Giants win. In fact, my dad's texting me, wow, Giants look great, have a good broadcast. And I was like, yeah, they really do. I was able to watch, And then I'm getting texts from him during the game. It's 21-10 now. It's 21-16 now.
Why would he do that to you?
Jaguars just took the lead. Well, he's keeping me up to date.
Yeah, but that seems terrible.
Well, no.
Because he knows that you're focused on your number one priority at that moment, and he's distracting you.
Yeah, but the Giants losing that game doesn't affect me. See, that's what I was going to say. I thought for certain they were, and I was shocked, absolutely shocked, as I was getting the text messages.
Because it was over.
And then I was shocked to go back and watch it. And look, I mean, the way you lose that game is absolutely absurd, but this is the word I would use, Dave. It's embarrassing. Is it damaging? I don't necessarily think so, because in all honesty, in the scheme of things, we're all better off if the Giants lose as many games as possible the rest of the season. We are. The better pick you have, the better off this team is. On a sober mind, and I'm watching the game rooting for them, but on a sober mind, you're better off with them losing. However, even if you know that, you don't want to get embarrassed. First of all, you're not going to try and lose. Secondly, you don't want to get embarrassed as you go down that road, even if you're able to take a step back and say, you know what, that's actually okay. You don't want to be embarrassed. And yesterday was embarrassing.
It really was.
It's embarrassing to be up 21-3, to lose that lead, to then get the lead back, and then watch a team come back down the field for the second straight week, mind you, with no problem whatsoever.
And this is, look, last week, Tony Romo, that offensive line, DeMarco Murray, as infuriating as it was, they're good. Cowboys are a very good offense. They're a very good football team. That team yesterday, Ryan, stinks. Blake Bortles I know that the future for him is bright. He's not good now. They have, their offensive line. You know how many years combined the five of that offensive line has played in the NFL? 11 years of experience for their offensive line. They have no experience, so little experience that you can't even tell what Blake Bortles is. And the Giants got to him a lot yesterday. They pressured him, they sacked him, they brought him down. But in the end, when they had to, it was the same song and dance. Go right down the field, set you up for a game-winning field goal. This team stinks.
Coughlin?
You couldn't script it any better for the other side of the ball. Fumble, we get a sack, we fumble the ball, they recover a ball in the end zone. Larry Donnell goes up right on his head. He's done that 2 or 3 times, fumbled the ball. They pick it up and run in the end zone for a touchdown there.
And how about for Eli Manning? Is this the low point of his tenure with the Giants?
Yeah, obviously last year we started the season poorly. But, yeah, I feel like... I feel like at times we're playing pretty good football and doing some good things and well enough to win some games. We just don't have it quite figured out how to win the game. And I don't know how you teach that. I think the teams come together and they figured that out. Someone makes a great play or something happens to get the win and we're not making that game clinching play. To win these games.
Yeah, that's the truth of it too, Dave.
But you shouldn't have to make a big play up 21-0, Ryan.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
To this team?
No, you shouldn't. Yesterday, it should never come to that. But over the course of this, against San Francisco, against Dallas, need a score, need a stop. Yesterday, need to not turn the ball over.
All they needed to do, and Coughlin was, it's kind of funny to hear him say it, we would have been better off taking the knee the entire second half than doing what we did. They handed. The Giants are bad, and we know that. But it's one thing to be, a bad football team, and it's another thing to literally hand the game to your opponent, and that's what they did yesterday. They gave that game away.
And I'm curious. Are you upset about yesterday? Did it affect you at all?
How could you not be upset?
Well,
really, look, I get it. You look at this.
The season's over. The season's over.
No, come on. How could you lose that game to the Jaguars and not be?
That bothered you afterwards? In the aftermath of it, you were bothered by it.
Are you kidding?
As you were watching it, I understand it, but as your night went along, you were thinking about it.
I felt like a relative died.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
But, Dave, come on now. This game meant nothing.
But it's embarrassing to watch my beloved team play like that.
I agree. It is embarrassing. It is embarrassing. But as you went through it, I get it. Afterwards, you still felt
I was
that way?
on the air, and they were asking me, "Why are you so miserable?" And you know why? I got home. I got home last night, and my kids were like, "Oh God, what's Daddy going to be like?" My wife knew.
So they're never safe, even when the season's over. They're not
look,
safe.
If the Giants had gone out and lost the game like a normal 24-21 back and forth, up and down, I would have been upset, but I would have been okay. To lose like that. Why you laugh? What are you going to do?
No.
What are you going to do? Go ahead.
What about that catch, though?
Oh, yeah, that was some catch. Yeah.
Come on now.
That was one heck of a catch.
I'm curious. So 1-800-919-3776 is the telephone number on the Lexus of Route 10 hotline, the amazing people there. 1-800-919-3776. You tell us, are you upset about it? Like, did it bother you?
Not be upset?
No, because here's what I was. As I went through it, I was like, yeah. That's embarrassing. Like, I thought things about it, but it wasn't affecting me emotionally because I already have let go of the rope on this team this year.
I get it, but you know what? You want Coughlin back, don't you?
I do. But
and you don't think that helps Coughlin's chances of returning, do you?
I don't, because I think the more embarrassing it gets, the momentum behind making more significant changes will swell. For the optic, if nothing else. And the Giants don't usually, as an organization, react to the optic and the way things look. But if you are looking at this, when you have 2 years in a row, like these 2 years.
They've been awful. And remember, 3 years ago, when they collapsed down the stretch, getting destroyed by Baltimore.
Yep.
And destroyed by Atlanta. Yep. And not competing in games that I remember we had the conversations back then of, well, this is what the Giants do, and they'll turn it on because they're capable of it.
They start great, have a slump, come back.
Because that's what they do, and that's who they are. And you know what? They're not a good football
team. Well, they're
team.
not. But the question is, see, I think if you continue with losses like this, yesterday was significant because it may end up prodding you in the direction of having to make a more significant change than just the defensive coordinator. We all know that's happening, all right? But what happens after that? I think if you continue to lose like this, something else will happen. The question is that the right thing? I still have an inherent trust in Tom Coughlin. It feels like, they need to come up with some sort of change just because,
for change's sake,
because they've now run themselves into the ground, try to get back up, and just gone further down.
Right.
So it feels like they need some sort of wholesale change. And maybe it's the 2 Super Bowls talking, or maybe it's the fact that both times he won them, he was on the brink of being fired, or that he's just a really good football coach. And I don't believe he's necessarily the problem. But you are getting to the point where you're going to need some sort of culture change, because now this is becoming your culture. Your culture is becoming, it was teetering with not making the playoffs and maybe making it and making a run or not. Now your culture is becoming having these terrible seasons where you cannot get yourself out of it as you just lose and lose and lose and lose.
And when was the last time you looked at the Giants and said that was a complete game? They played from the opening kickoff to the end of the game. They played a really good football game.
Only Washington this year, I think.
Right?
I think that's the only win I felt that way.
In 12 games right now?
Yeah.
And I like Coughlin, and I want him to return, and I like Reese, and I'd like to see him return. But I think you start to get to the point where your confidence has to wane. And if you are one of those in the camp of fire this guy, well, you know what? Then yesterday is what you want. Really. I know everyone roots for the Giants and loves them, but if you're in the camp of Tom Coughlin should go, then yesterday was a very good day for your case.
Yeah, but what about that catch, though?
See, this is funny for you.
I mean, just because of the way you react to that.
Well, because I take it personally, because I love them.
I love them, too.
So then why would you laugh about a catch and not caring about it? And of course, how could you think that I wouldn't be upset today?
Well...
Yeah, but what about that catch, though?
But so what?
But it was a great catch.
Yeah, but it's gone. It's done.
I'm
great.
being facetious
amazing. Oh, Beckham was good yesterday.
Yeah, he was very good. So was Rashad Jennings.
He was.
Yeah.
Until he got hurt. By the way, and I'm not making the excuse, but have you ever seen a team ravaged by injuries like this?
Yes.
Like this?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
You remember the year they lost to Carolina and they had to move Justin Tuck to linebacker?
Do you know what they were doing yesterday? They were getting defensive tackles ready to play offensive line.
Well, it's bad. And by the way, the offensive line collapsed when Schwartz went down. That was the move.
He's been a great signing, huh?
Well, you know what's funny, though? When he's been on the field, their offensive line has played well.
He's been on the field for 10 minutes.
I know, but they were a really good 10 minutes.
You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.